Tonight, the conversations are big. First off, we turn our attention to the subject of feed security, an issue that poses a real challenge for not just Nigeria, but African continent. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, says it is now partnering with the federal government of Nigeria to deliver impactful extension services to smallholder farmers in the country. Now, this exercise is being conducted in collaboration between the ministry and the U.S. agency's Feed for the Future Agricultural Extension and Advisory Services activity in Nigeria. That sounds heartwarming. As a matter of fact, the partnership also seeks to improve livelihoods, productivity, profitability, and market access to smallholder farmers in the country. However, it evidently does not answer the questions that players in the sector and indeed Nigerians eagerly want answers to. My guest tonight will provide insights and share perspectives in this regard. Also, the Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, CNG, of the federal government seems to be gaining something, well, close to momentum, at least for whatever it is worth, as government continues to ramp up efforts to expand refuel points for CNG-compliant vehicles. The challenges associated with this otherwise noble initiative are beginning to come to the surface. Obstacles notwithstanding, however, Ekberikbe Ekpo, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas, says President Tinubu now wants most petrol stations across the country converted to compressed natural gas outlets. Will this be a walk in the park or another tall order? A development consultant and public affairs analyst will be joining us on the program tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Big Talk. I am Uyi Agmofwegbe in for Edicant Michael. Dr. Abubakar Bomaye is one man you could say wears quite a number of hats, but tonight we would like to introduce him as the chairman at NETE Group of companies and someone who has a lot of experience under his belt, particularly as it has to do with the agri sector. Dr. Bomaye, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for making our time to be here tonight. Conversations around agriculture never seem to end because it's pivotal to livelihoods, apparently. But let's talk about some of the obstacles, or as they say in the finance sector, headwinds we're now dealing with. In this regard, how is it that it has become almost impossible for us to scale in terms of output and, of course, commercialize on a scale that can almost compete with what we realize from oil?
Okay, we have to look at two things, you know. If you look at the government policies and after the discovery of crude oil, the way we left agriculture behind, despite agriculture lead us to crude oil. If you can recall in the 90s where we have the pyramid of Granode where British are coming into Nigeria, that's where you can compare dollar and naira. So, and you know, it happens to Nigerians, love quick money, quick cash, you know. Agriculture is something that you have to move with processes and everything.
Right.
So, regardless, keeping this aside, you know, people now turn away and look at the money involved in importation of food items rather than sit down to produce local content. And, you know, we farm what we produce what we eat and we eat what we produce. If you look at past administration, honestly have to turn our mind to even key into agriculture firstly after banning all the importation of foods, after injecting a lot of million of naira, trillion of naira into agriculture. That's where even we have an individual private sector look at agriculture as a lucrative business to even invest in processing like rice mill. Before in Nigeria, you can't even count rice mill. Now you can't even, we have many as we imagine. Per state, you can have 20, 30 rice mills at the moment. So this is showing you that people are looking at agriculture now as a lucrative business, not as is before. So when you start a business, that's why you look at innovation towards that businesses. You look at the challenges, how you can tackle the challenges, what are the impacts of it and everything. So to me, past administration and the current administration are really driving agriculture very, very well. So it's just that we have to be a little bit patient, you know. Wonders cannot happen in one night.
Right.
Yeah, that's what is happening.
We have heard stories about countries, whether in Africa, somewhere in Europe, or even the Middle East, who are doing well with sometimes just one or two products, so to speak, of agriculture. For example, you turn to a place like, let's say, the Netherlands. So you hear what they realize, for example, on an annual basis from just one line of produce. And then you come back home and you're asking yourself, how is it that we're not able to achieve all of this? But let's, like you said, leave that aside for a second and talk about investment in this sector. How well are we doing in investment in this sector? We're seeing, for example, quite a large chunk of money going into the finance sector, going into, of course, we have a lot of IOCs in Nigeria, international oil companies. We have a lot of money coming into even infrastructure these days, including from countries like China. Why are we not able to pull in that same level or amount of resources into agriculture?
Okay, as I told you, we have to look at the technology adaptation of local content, which is very important.
Right.
Look at the range of how many people are even into agriculture. Let's say, for example, if you realize the billionaires we have in entertainment are 90%, we just have 5% of them in agriculture. Imagine today we have the Davido rice mill. How far will it go?
Right.
It's something that will definitely go viral. So this is something we have to look into it. If you look at Aliko Dangote was a person that we know is an African, black African billionaire, But he just came into agriculture for a certain time and he moved on, go into what? Crude oil as well. So agriculture is something we have to look at it from different angle. We have the land. The land we have, after having the land, we still have the farmers as well. Despite the farmers we have are all these farmers, not young farmers, which we believe young farmers are the change, they are the make change, how will I put it for you, like they are the people that can bring immediate change into agriculture.
Like the change agents.
Change agent of agriculture. But unfortunately, agriculture is not attractive to them. Why? Because it's something that even if you look at the curriculum in secondary school, if you wanted to punish, that's what they ask you to carry cutlass and go to the farm. So this is from there, someone would now feel like farming is not something that is even attractive to him. So these days is something that we have to change the narrative. We have to change the narrative of that agriculture as well. So if we did not change the narrative, it's not something that everybody would like to invest this money. So as I'm telling you, the crucial time bomb we are now, agriculture is almost compulsory for everyone. That's the president has to give directives to the army to turn their barracks into agriculture. He has given them the mandate to feed the nation because you can't fight food security without fighting food security. So hunger did not know who you are. He will deal with anybody he wants. So this is something we have to look into it critically. So you can't compare us with Netherlands. Netherlands have the mechanization, have the technology. As I'm telling you up to now, if you go to our farmers, 70% of them are still practicing the farming model of the 50 or 60 years up to now. Going to the hole, managing in 0.5 hectares. Which I and you know definitely, if we wanted to achieve the global demand or the country demand, we have to move fully mechanized farming.
I want to talk about something else real quick. Of course, I'm sure you recall when we had Dr. Adesina, now the president of the African Development Bank, as the Minister of Agriculture in this country, when you had former President Goodluck Jonathan in Nigeria. We saw a bit of innovation coming through in the agricultural space. For example, it was now possible for you to have an interface on your mobile phone to be able to distribute fertilizer and do a couple of things. And people say it worked real well, even though we couldn't sustain that trajectory. You've talked about mechanizing farming tonight and getting young people to be attracted into it. it's 24 years into a new millennium. How do we marry, so to speak, technology and agriculture?
Okay. I really agree with you. Additional is someone that brings a lot of technology transformation into agriculture. I can recall when he was the Minister of Agriculture, he introduced Growth Enhancement Support Scheme,
right.
Agro Wallet. As I'm telling you right now, when he's still doing this program as he is as the African Development Bank, I think he have practiced this initiative in some few African countries with Nigeria. This is the current intervention farmers were enjoying in this country. He have injected $158 million for the production of wheat, rice, maize, and cassava. So the program is called NACS-AP, Natural Agricultural Growth Scheme Agro Pocket. It's the same procedure where a farmer will have a wallet, agri-dealer will have a wallet, after having that wallet, they will send an SMS message to a farmer will move to a redemption center, will redeem, and it's subsidized, right? So a farmer is paying 25%, while the federal government is paying 25%, African Development Bank is paying 50% on behalf of him. So eventually, it's a very good technology aspect that shows a lot of transparency. Do you get me? So this is what I wanted to us to look into. So, and secondly, why I said innovation and technology, I believe, I don't know whether you are conversant with the youth of these days. You see everybody having an Android phone, trying to be touching the Android, saying he's cryptocurrency mining, So if you look at the number of people that are involved in that kind of mining, you see it's very huge. Why? Because they believe someone will sit down mining for 6 months and he will get nothing less than $10, $15, $20, and he's happy on that.
Right.
So imagine if you'll be having 0.5 hectares for this good 6 months, how much will you be earning? Since we know a ton of paddy rice at the moment is almost 1.8 or 2 million naira. How will you begin? So it's something that people are more lazy now, sitting down there, right at this 1, 2 years spending for data and everything. So, but we still have some young people that were doing great. We have to look at 2 things. Where our research institutes are they still active?
I think we would like to provide answers to that because you can't divorce research institutes from agriculture.
Definitely, they are working hand in hand. If you really wanted to achieve your target, you have to look at the research institutes. Those are the new innovations done by the research institutes.
Right.
So as far as the research institutes are not active, the end result is 0. This is number 1. Number 2, let's look at our farmers' database. Who are these farmers? Are they the real farmers? Are they the political farmers? Are they the ghost farmers? How are we mining these data? Is a question. So if after you have this question, you have to know, okay, what is the capacity of each and every farmer? Another serious issue is how do you identify the production as well? What is the output of their production? It's not just giving me an input and you left me alone. Do you monitor my production? And the extent of giving me this input to make sure you should make sure I achieve the production you want to be the target. So if you just give me an input and left, you don't know what has happened. Maybe I have faced some climate change crisis. So it's something that you have to follow it bit by bit. Where are the young talented people that we have in university and college of education that are coming up with new dryers, water pumps, solar water pumps for new innovations? Are we carrying these people along? Which kind of source of intervention do we have? As I'm telling you, as a country like Nigeria, that we have 70% of our youth, we did not have a single program that you call the youth to a dialogue to discuss on these issues regarding to agriculture.
You see, this is a bit heartbreaking, but let's look at something that even breaks the heart a bit further. You look at some programs by governments, some of them by different agencies or institutions of the government. Look at the one by the CBN, for example, that's supposed to be focused on rice farmers in particular, in such a way that you put billions into it, and then you do your projection knowing that in the next couple of years, it will scale and the industry will progress along those lines. We've seen many of them. The Anchor Boras program, for instance. When you look at such programs, what lessons, number 1, should we be learning? Number 2, how exactly should these programs be coordinated? You just talked about political farmers, for example. How that people who have never even come 1,000 feet close to a farm are getting more resources, getting more money, more funding than those who are actually on the farm almost every other day doing the real work. How do we check this kind of anomaly?
As far as we will not have this issue of if we did not clear our mind of one Nigeria, mop out away all this tribalism and corruption on us,
Right.
we'll never get it right. You know the problem. If you see the anchor borrowers, to me up to now, I keep on telling people, anchor borrowers is a very good model. If you look at the model, but unfortunately, if you look at the saga involved in agro dealer, in the issue of an anchor borrower, you now realize that it's a very big taboo. We have been seeing what is happening. You know, if you look at the reports we have regarding the past CBN governor regarding to anchor borrowers, a lot of billions have been injected there, no result yet. When you look at the PFIs, participating financial institution as well, they will give you money on behalf of a farmer. Instead of you to release the money to the farmer, you're using the money for something else. And farming is something that you have to work, it's a timing stuff. If you mix one day, it's like you miss 1 week. So if you said, give this to the farmer, you have to give him in an accurate time. So the problem is if you realize that they are not releasing even the fund at the right time because the farmer will not come up with the result they're expecting him to result. So they come and end up telling you that it's flooding, they have climate change crisis and everything. So if something has to be well-timed, I think definitely the result will be achieved. So the issue we have with anchor borrowers, these are the main issue we have with anchor borrowers. Right. So secondly, after the anchor borrowers, now this government that came in and declared emergency on food security, and with this NACS AP that we've seen, at least there were a little bit changes, you know. So because farmers are getting it directly, not like the anchor borrowers maybe dealing with the association.
Sometimes middlemen.
Middlemen are there. You are chairman of an association that they just give you money, you look for your suppliers, give them money, and you do everything. So before you know, the thing is used to delay before getting into the farmer. Right. But at the moment now, a farmer was registered in the database, he will receive an instant message and he will now just move to a redemption center and pick his input directly to the farm. So at least it's a little bit better.
Right.
So, but what we have to look at is the problem of insecurity is another big issue.
I think we need to take a quick break now because we need to talk about insecurity. We need to talk about policy for a minute, and then we also need to talk about the new ministry of
livestock and development.
Yes. Wow. We are hitting a quick break on the program. When we return, a bit more to talk about on this topic. Do stay with us. Oh, thank you for staying with us on Big Talk, everyone. So let's turn to your issue of insecurity, because some years before now, when you talked about challenges associated with farming and agriculture in this country, insecurity was not one of the concerns. But today, the dynamics have changed very fundamentally. I'm not going to ask you how we might be able to deal with it because you are not a security expert. But let's talk about how we can navigate our way around it and still be able to accomplish something substantial in the agricultural sector.
Okay, basically what I advise right now is you have to look at urban farming, honestly.
Urban farming?
Yeah, of course. You can expose yourself to a very big land, because of the insecurity we're facing, But I think this time we have to look at the innovation towards that, where people can have this sack farming, in your backyard farming, no matter how big, it's not big, but at least it's manageable. Some will even have to look at some other country that do this roof farming, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think we have to look at that angle. Now, if you have a backyard, I think you can have 20, 30 sack of cement, where you can have your potato, you can have your yam, you can have your corn, you can have your guinea corn, you can do some other vegetables there.
Right.
So automatically, is this something you can manage and deal with the insecurity issue? If not, because I know many people that they cannot even go to the farm. I know some people that they have went to the farm, they will leave you to even go to the farm, do all the necessary. When it comes to harvest, you cannot go and harvest.
Right.
So these kind of things, I think, which I know the security agencies are doing their best and having with the agro rangers from the Civil Defense Corps and all this. But we, as farmers as well, we advise them to key in and look at the initiative towards urban farming. That's the best solution.
President Bola Tinubu today has said that we made a mistake for abandoning or neglecting livestock farming before now. Some people will say, well, that's just political rhetoric. How would you help us to expand that?
No, definitely I tell people a lot on when it comes to this. It's a very big development. We can't merge Ministry of Agriculture, Crop and Livestock. I think all of them is a sector on its own, and all of them have their own life value chains. And each and every value chain has its own opportunity. You get me? But combining them together is rather people are even neglecting livestock at all. We're just more on the crop. So having it in different dimension, everybody have his tax to ahead, So to me, I look at the National Livestock Transformation from 2019 to 2025 that he has, the agricultural policy framework towards that. I think is a great advantage. It will create a lot of new jobs, So secondly, and it can give the mandate to see how we can even solve the problem of these farmers and herdsmen. How we can have our ranches back to active. You get me? So before is something that people are not looking into it. If we look at Nigeria is a country that at least by now we should even be exporting more of these livestocks we have. You get me? So because lack of a very good, absolutely sole mandate, that's what is deviating people from anything livestock. Look at the other budgets we have for the past few years. You realize that the budget coming to livestock was very few. Look at the dairy opportunity on dairy. Do you get me? Most of the milk we do they are importing the milk.
Yes.
So this is something that if we capitalize on it, a lot of job will be created in this country. Do you get me? So people will now look at the potential in each and every bit of the cycle and value chain of the livestock development itself. Imagine a country like Saudi that are flying their jet from Saudi to even Australia to go and take fodder to feed their animals. Imagine Nigeria can focus on this. We have the arable land and everything. It's something that is even easy for them. 6 hours coming into Nigeria, we have the fodder and they can just pack the fodder and take it directly from our farmers. How many farmers will now be empowered towards that? How many farmers will be empowered when it comes to the ranch? How many farmers, people will be empowered and you do that empowered when it comes to dairy production? So it has potential. And that's the reason it's showing the people the potential we have. Look at the animal skins. So people are just packing it out of the country. It's something that we can look at it and we can put it and we can innovate and put it and turn it into so many things that it can create a lot of
including leather, for example.
Yes, of course. Look at it. So it has potential. So, and I think it's the right thing that he made a very good decision for that, which we're all happy with it.
But again, you just mentioned the issue of ranching now. We've been dealing with ranching for a few years, at least in particular, because we've been talking about whether to ranch or not to ranch. Where is that conversation really leading right now? Because we still see cattle all over this country from end to end.
Yeah, I think I have already told you now is we need someone to be wholly responsible for this thing.
Within the same framework of this ministry?
Yes. They are in charge. This is their mandate now.
Right.
So let's see what they have at hand and their policies. If they couldn't deal with this, we have to come and question them. Why not? Before someone will not be telling you, as a director, I have to pass a memo, I have to look for approval from this. So the story is much. But now we know it's absolutely your mandate. Why are we seeing cattle everywhere? So revive back all the Obudu cattle ranch and other ranches we have back to active. So this is how we can even manage the diseases and everything that's happening, flying all over the country. So I think he has made a very good decision for that. At least now we know the funding is absolutely sent for this ministry to deal with all these obstacles we have towards the ranch and the diseases and the livestock production and the value chain as well.
Are you afraid somewhere? I use that word, afraid, advisedly. I'm saying, are you concerned as an expert in this sector that there could be the possibility whatever challenges have bedeviled the Ministry of Agriculture could also become the lot of this new ministry?
Yeah, it's not only you. Everybody was asking this question. We are looking at the policy, politics in it, you know. Someone will be telling you, know, if you still say this, it's not a new system. It's not like it's an old mechanisms with a change of branding, you know. So, but definitely we have to look at two things. So, like Ministry of Livestock and Development, we have some agencies that were doing great, would come under him, like I think National Agricultural Development Funds. They have such mandate when it comes to livestock. You know? So I think it's something that we have to look into it. We have to just look for the right people who are really interested for this country to drive. Thank God the minister was appointed yesterday that we drive the Ministry of Livestock and Development, which if you look at his CV is someone that he knows very well when it comes to livestock development. So we can't just judge them for now, but let's just give them a trial to see what they can do and how far will they go towards that.
Let's look at an issue that you raised a while ago, which is very concerning, that you are now, as an expert, recommending urban farming. We don't have so much of land for that as it stands right now. Yes, I understand they say necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yes.
I spoke with a farmer this morning, a poultry farmer, on a different program, and he did talk about how that, because naturally as it is in Nigeria, you have farms on the outskirts, you know, in the, not the rural area, the rural areas, it becomes difficult because of insecurity. So everybody wants to come to the city center, everybody wants to come to the urban areas. How do we deal with that challenge in a situation where we already have, as you know, for decades now, this very radical shift of rural-urban migration?
Migration, yeah.
Right. How do we deal with that?
So, but I want you to look at something. We used to forget something. During this COVID, we learned a lot of things during COVID. This COVID pandemic have really taught us a lot of things. I think people do not even know the importance of working in your comfort zone until we have this pandemic. We have to adjust to our level. So this is a situation we are looking at. Even rather than to say we did not achieve a zero result, it's better we achieve if it is 5% or 10%. Doesn't mean that we have to say, okay, maybe the land I have close to me or back on my backyard or something, it's not something a very big land. So I think it's something that you have. It's good to even use that your few land you have, you know, into practice and leaving it zero, because at least you have contributed your quota, you know, when it comes to the production itself. So it's not that, you know, Nigerians, we like relaxing, you know. We always like telling problems, not looking solution to the problem, you know. We can't just say we wake up today that there's not any bandit and nobody would insecurity in the farm. We are lying to ourselves. At times is when something is happening, you now look for a small solution that at least will satisfy you at least. People don't know. If you have I don't even see why you'll be keeping flowers around your houses if they're not giving you results.
Value.
Value, yes. You have to look for a value addition crops. We have these stevias, we have this moringa, we have all these things that can help. Moringa, no matter how it is, you can process and cook it at home. For medicinal and other pharmaceutical activities. We have a place you can do hibiscus, stevias, lemongrass and all these things. So this is the stage we are, no matter how it is, how few lands you have. Put that land into utilization. Utilize that land, no matter how it is. Utilize that land. Even if you have a staircase, balcony, use that your balcony for something that would at least help you. At least something that will add value. Even if it's okro, do okro, obono, do obono there. At least I've saved the stress of going to market buying obono.
Right.
So that's the reason we have to advise the Ministry of Education. We have vast lands in schools, you know. If you look at the barracks, we have police barracks and other barracks. We have arable lands there. That at least some even lands were even how will I put it for you? Infrastructure and everything was there. So it's something that you have to utilize that land rather than to just leave it like this as a bush.
I think There's much we can take tonight, but your points are very salient, and we hope we continue to have this conversation as we make progress in the agricultural sector. I've been talking with Dr. Bamai Musa, who is the chairman NITE group of companies, sharing very valuable insight with us regarding what could be done to further drive progress and growth within the and its availability now will be in focus. Do stay with us, everyone. Let's turn to a different conversation tonight, everyone. Jide Ojo is an author, development consultant, columnist, and public affairs analyst, and he joins us live via Zoom from Abuja tonight to look at the compressed natural gas factor that has become a big conversation right now in light of the challenges that citizens across this country are grappling with regarding premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. Jide, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for taking out time to join us on Big Talk tonight.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
If you can hear me, first off, I'd like to know, for example, I mean, you are very familiar with the issues around fuel in this country, especially as it has to do with pricing. The president this week has said that, look, Nigerians have two options. If you can't buy fuel for 1,000 or a little higher than that, you have an alternative, which is the CNG. Help us make sense of that remark.
Thank you, Uyi. For me, I think it goes without saying that Nigerians now have an option to premium motor spirit or petrol, as it were. But I still believe that this is the removal of subsidy on petrol was hastily done, and this CNG initiative should have been up and running before the subsidy is removed. As we speak, how many CNG fuel filling stations do we have in Abuja? How many do we have across the country? Even the CNG conversion kits are being imported. When this initiative was made by Buhari administration, they set up committee. The committee submitted its report, but the report was not implemented. We had a whole 18 months to 2 years within which to implement this CNG initiative, but we allowed the opportunity to lie fallow. You recall that according to the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, subsidy should have been removed immediately the president signed that bill into law. But they deferred it to June 2023 from 2021 August, believing that in that period, all the turnaround maintenance of the refineries will have been done, the CNG initiative will have been up and running, and then it will mature for the removal of subsidy. But what we have seen on display is that the Buhari administration slept on the issue of CNG until Tinubu came. Now, the CNG initiative is playing catch up with the petroleum. As we speak, the presidency is silent on the state of the Port Harcourt refinery, the state of Warri refinery, the state of Kaduna refinery. After borrowing 2.9 billion for their turnaround maintenance. Recall that 1.5 billion was borrowed from Exim Bank of China to fund the turnaround of Port Harcourt refinery. We have been told 6 different times that this refinery will come on stream. We have not seen that happen. The Kaduna and Warri refinery was supposed to come on stream after the Port Harcourt. Nobody is even saying that anymore. When the Lanesik, Femi Falana wrote to the companies that Nigerians were informed got the contract. One of them, which is to handle Warri and Kaduna refinery, said they never got any contract from the Buhari government. The one that admitted that they got contract for the Port Harcourt refinery said they are not answerable to an individual, that individual is not the one that gave them the contract. Yet it is public money that is being used. I'm alluding to the fact that the CNG initiative is largely not understood in Nigeria because it's new. Yes, it's a transition from fossil fuel to clean energy. It's environmental friendly. It is cheaper. But we know that CNG is cheaper today at 200 naira per kg because people haven't started to use it en masse. By the time people convert, larger chunk of Nigerians convert their CNG cars to using their petrol cars to using CNG, you will see the astronomical rise in the cost of this CNG, and people will start to regret. Now, from the initial cost of 450,000 naira to convert your car to CNG, the price has now risen to about 1.5 million. Now, you go and buy a car for 7 million, you still need 1.5 million to have it converted to CNG. And like I said, there are very few. In Abuja, I think there are only 2 fuel stations that have CNG. So just imagine if half of the vehicles in Abuja were to be converted to CNG. Look at the long queues that you are going to be having in those 2 fuel stations. So the initiative has not been given the desired boost and push so that the Nigerian citizens will see it as a better alternative. When the government removed subsidy on kerosene, today kerosene is selling for about 1,500 per liter. People embraced cooking gas or LPG. I don't know whether it's cooking gas, they call it LPG. But you know there are different brands of gases. So right. There is CNG, there is LPG, there is maybe others. But what I'm trying to say now is that if you go by the economics of how the price of this cooking gas, domestic gas, has now astronomically risen, because more people have now embraced the usage. The last time I bought at a cost of 12.5 kg was in my neck of wood. I bought it 16,250. So do the math. So what I'm saying is that the price of CNG is low now. It's 200 naira per liter now, or 200 naira per kg.
Right.
Because people have not started to use it. And what we need now is that transition cannot be sudden. The fossil fuel transition cannot be sudden. It has to be gradual. And that's why government still needs to subsidize the petrol or PMS so that the cost of living, which is now astronomical, can be stabilized. Already now, if you go to the market, what you buy for 1,000 naira last week, you are likely going to get it for 1,500 to 2,000 this week. Not even a month interval, because of the fluctuation in the exchange rate and the fact that the fuel, the PMS, is being denominated in dollar. So what I have to say is that CNG is a good initiative. The president said it has come to stay. The minister said it has come to stay. I agree that it has come to stay. Just like Nigerians have fully embraced the use of cooking gas. But today, the same Nigerians are saying the price of cooking gas has become so astronomical that they can no longer afford it. They are now reverting to the use of charcoal and sawdust and cutting firewood. So, and what I learned now is that people are now smuggling this domestic gas, cooking gas across the border, the same way they are smuggling PMS. So how do we ensure that as more Nigerians embrace the use of CNG, the price does not catch up with that of price of petrol, and in which case, whether you use CNG or you use petrol, it's not going to make any difference.
Okay, interesting. The president now says that most of the existing filling stations, I mean petrol stations, should be converted to CNG outlets. When you look at the economics and all of the other dynamics around this sort of proposition, how much of sense do you make of it?
Well, it doesn't make much sense. The reason why I said that is that someone, and these are not government-owned enterprises, most of the fuel stations are owned by individual businessmen and women. What the government should have done is to encourage the NNPC outlets to all expand to having CNG dump of station. If NNPC in the last 2 years have been building the CNG or integrating CNG into their fuel stations, we will not be in this crisis. We will not be in this energy crisis. Why we are in this crisis is because, like I said, you can fact check me. Only two, from what I learned, only 2 stations are using you can only refill CNG in 2 stations in Abuja as at October 2024. Why did the president not start with all the NNPCL stations to first start expanding to becoming a CNG refilling centers? Because if you put that burden on individual businessmen, you need to alter the design of your fuel station to be able to achieve that. And you know, the approvals that were given to these companies was to build a particular size of fuel station. So when you are now saying convert or start selling CNG, you need to alter the architectural design of those fuel stations. And it is not the same dump. You cannot go and dry up fuel, PMS, in a particular dump and replace it with CNG. It's like you are using a particular keg for petrol before. You now want to use it to fetch water. Will you be able to drink that water? So it takes a lot. It's not just on the face of it, okay, go and do it. Go and start selling CNG. The CNG, the value chain or the supply chain, let me not even say the value chain. We know where people source PMS in Lagos. How many depots do you have across the country where these private businessmen can go and buy CNG to sell to the public? Can you channel this CNG through the pipeline, or do you have to truck it from Port Harcourt or Warri or Lagos to all parts of the country, as we are doing with PMS? Because if that is still the situation, it then means that by the time the haulage companies or the owners of the trucks put their own charges, you are not going to likely get CNG at the rate of 200 per kg when more people embrace it. It will drive up the price because it's a supply and demand thing. It is low now because the patronage is not much. Not many people have come to embrace the use of CNG. The more people embrace it, the higher the price will rise. And in another 1 year, you may find out that CNG might even cost more than PMS because it's still a supply and demand thing. Most businessmen who are into oil and gas, they may stop importing PMS. They may not even buy PMS from Dangote again. But to the best of my knowledge, Dangote is not producing CNG.
Right.
Dangote refinery is meant to produce petrochemicals and oil, not gas. I have not heard that Dangote is also going to be producing gas. So where will they source all this gas from? Are we going to be importing this CNG, or is this CNG going to be produced locally? Even if it is produced locally, what about the trucking or the transportation? Yes, transportation. Are you going to be using pipeline to transport it? Are you going to be using railway to transport it? Or you are going to be using truck to transport it? If you are going to be using truck, look at the cost of energy that you spend to transport it. So it looks catchy and sexy at this point because less than maybe 5% of the population is using CNG by now. By the time you have 50 to 70, 80% of Nigerians using CNG, you may find out that a kilo of CNG may cost over 2,000 naira when fully embraced. So they should just not bamboozle us with the idea of, oh, you save cost if you buy CNG, if you convert CNG. What initiative has the federal government done to even subsidize the kit, the conversion kit? The excuse they are giving now is that the conversion is expensive because the kits are not manufactured in Nigeria. That should have been part of the plan to get companies abroad to come and invest in the production of that kit, of those kits in Nigeria. But if you have to still be importing the conversion kit and the exchange rate continue to be volatile the way it is, today you exchange a dollar for 1,007. The day after it comes to 1,690. Day after it goes to 2,000. That will also drive up the cost of conversion.
I think that's...
there's still a lot of missing gap. Things that some housekeeping that should have been done that has not been done, which we need to draw government attention to.
Okay, I think these are very core elements in your narrative, and we hope our government will pay attention real time to these issues. We'd like to say a big thank you to you tonight, Jide Ojo, for joining us on Big Talk.
It's my pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too, thank you. I'll be talking with Jide Ojo, who is an author, development consultant, columnist, and public affairs analyst, joined us via Zoom from Nigeria's capital here in Abuja. In all of these, two things are very clear. First off, with regards to agriculture, Nigeria must scale, government must give all the necessary support. There must be sincerity of purpose. And when you turn to the issue of the CNG, it still boils down to the fact that there must be access to the product, whether it's CNG or petroleum products. Of course, there must also be the factor of pricing taken into cognizance. Ultimately, we must all, government or citizens, realize that Nigeria is better than this. We are Mofwegbe. Thank you so very much for watching tonight. I'll see you again.